Welcome to another episode of Theological Pipe. News, culture, sports, politics, and everything else from a theological perspective.
It's all summed up in love.
What should I do? Tell me.
God is good.
Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give me peace. Give me peace.
Put that in your theological pipe and smoke it. Hey, welcome to another episode of Theological Pipe. To quote the immortal Andy Dufresne, hope is a good thing, maybe the best thing, and that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're watching on YouTube, man, click the subscribe button, the comment button, the like button. If you're listening on Spotify or Google or Apple or any of your podcast apps, click subscribe. I appreciate it. So hope is a good thing, and in Theological Pipe, we the idea is I'm going to talk about things from a theological perspective. There is a God, and whether it's sports or politics or culture or movies or music, we're going to talk about things from that perspective. And hope is an incredible gift, an incredible value, and it's an incredible thing to have hope in tough times. And I don't really want to connect this to politics right now, even though there's tons to talk about when it comes to politics. And as we get really close to the election, maybe I'll do one or two podcasts about politics and the good and bad of Biden and that stuff. But yesterday in my podcast, I talked about how the day after the election, the sun's going to come up. And we're going to go out and do things, hopefully love each other, hopefully take care of each other, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. And so with this podcast, it's I don't want it to be totally about the politics and if your guy wins or loses, what kind of hope or despair are you going to be in, that kind of stuff. I just want to talk about hope and how hoping that things are going to get better and knowing that things are going to get better and knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, regardless of the circumstances, whether it's political or social or relationship-wise or job-wise or just life in general, the times that we're living in, hope is a good thing. It's a really good thing. And so we're going to watch this clip from 1986. It was actually October 25th. We just passed, I think, the 35th anniversary of this date, 34th anniversary of this date. And this is Game 6 of the 1986 World Series. And I kind of want to watch it and then talk a little bit about it. So this is 1986. You're going to hear probably the greatest sports announcer, broadcaster ever, Vin Scully. The dude was phenomenal. We're going to watch a little bit, and then I'll talk about hope and kind of hopefully give a different perspective. Again, the idea over the next few days before the election is to maybe not focus on politics so much with this, to give us something else to think about, to something else to hold on to, whether it be funny or serious. It's hopefully going to be something that's not political, not talking about Trump or Biden or Hunter Biden or his laptops or China or any of those things. Let's focus on today, hope. Hope is a good thing. So we're going to watch this clip and then we'll comment on it. So this is again from 1986, October 25th.
So the winning run is at second base with 2 out, 3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it. If one picture is worth 1,000 words, you have seen about 1,000,000 words.
All right, I'll stop there. That I was waiting for Vin Scully to say that. That's the genius of Vin Scully. We're gonna get into the hope in this thing in a second. I've got goosebumps watching that. It takes me back to 16 years old, 86, 16 years old watching that, and that's what I'm gonna talk about. But Vin Scully, and if you're listening on Google or Apple or listening on a podcast, do yourself a favor. Go to the Theological Pipe YouTube page. Go to just YouTube and Google or search for 1986 Game 6 and watch the final play. And that's what he was quiet for like 2 minutes. And these guys are paid to talk. And he knew in that moment that just being quiet and letting the crowd yell and letting the scene, and they were showing cuts of what was happening, and it was just an incredible moment. And again, I do got goosebumps watching that again. And when I was watching that, it was Game 6. The Mets were down 3-2. And so, again, this is 86. So some of you that listen are young, probably don't even remember this, but you can go look it up. And if you can, watch the games, man, they were incredible. But in Game 6, the Mets were down in the 10th inning. And they were losing, and they were down, and there were 2 outs. And an incredible sequence of events that happened where the Mets were down to 2 outs. There was nobody on base. They hit a single, and then Gary Carter hits a single. Kevin Mitchell, and it was incredible the way it kind of Ray Knight, and it played itself out. And what happened before Mookie Wilson hit this ground ball, the play before it, there was a man on third. Kevin Mitchell was on third, and there was a wild pitch. And the wild pitch allowed Kevin Mitchell to score the tying run. So the Mets tied it up. They were not only two outs. Not only were there 2 outs, there were 2 strikes. They were 1 strike away from losing the World Series that Game 6, and then losing the series total. The Red Sox would have won 4-2. And the Mets won 108 games that year. They were considered the best team in baseball. I'm a lifelong Mets fan, and I'm at my friend Sean McCormick's house, and we're watching, me and Sean and my friend Jamie, and there's 2 outs, and I can remember I was sitting there saying, we can still do this. We can still do this. We're going to do this. Something amazing is going to happen. And so we get a single. And my friend Sean was negative. He's like, we're not, they stink. I can't believe they're going to get beat. And there were probably some other words besides stink in there. Again, we were 16, thought we were cool, so we cursed a lot. And my friend Jamie, he wasn't really a Mets fan. Me and Sean were. And we're watching. And then, another single. And I'm like, hey, a home run and we win this game. And like, no, they're not going to do it. They're going to strike out. And then the wild pitch happens, and Kevin Mitchell scores, and now it's tied. The game's totally different. The game is tied, and Mookie Wilson is up, and the at-bat was just an incredible at-bat. You can go watch it. It was much longer than what we saw, and then you see or heard what happened. Mookie Wilson swings, hits a little ground ball to first base. It goes through the first baseman's leg. Ray Knight comes around to score, and the Mets win Game 6. And up until that point, I never lost hope that the Mets could do it. I had hope that the Mets were going to win that game. Now, I'm not saying my hope caused anything, and I'm not one of those, I am a superstitious sports fan, but not in this case. I just believed and hoped that the Mets could win. And I can remember when Mookie Wilson hit that ball, and the ball went under Buckner's legs, and Ray Knight went around to score. We sat there for a minute in awe, just watching the pictures. Again, if you're on YouTube, you saw it. Just sitting there in awe. And then Vin Scully says his amazing, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, you've just seen 1,000,000 words. And more than that, the Mets are live and well, and there's going to be a Game 7. And I jumped up from the couch, ran outside. It was probably 11, 12 o'clock in the night. We lived in Oklahoma, and I am screaming my head off. Now, there's Oklahoma, there's sports fans, but they're not huge baseball fans and definitely not Met fans. And I am screaming my head off in my friend's front yard, yeah, incredible, that's great. And again, pepper in some colorful language in there. I am going nuts, and I'm so excited. I'm so pumped up that the Mets won the game. Again, goosebumps. Go home. My mom and dad, they're like, oh my gosh, did you see that game? I'm like, it was incredible. And the funny part is the next day, we're in school and I'm with Jamie, I'm with Sean and stuff, and Jamie says it even to this day. He'll say, I never lost hope. I never gave up. I never was down. And I'm not saying I'm always like that. I'm a negative, person when it comes to the teams I root for, because I root for the Mets. I root for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I root for, teams that sometimes don't win a lot. But when they do, man, it's incredible. And I didn't. I always had that hope that the Mets were gonna come through, and they did. And again, Jamie will tell people that, like, he never lost hope, man. He never lost faith. He always believed it was gonna happen. You gotta believe. That was one of the crying calls from Tug McGraw back in '73 when the Mets were in the series. They didn't win it, but they were in the series. And hope is a good thing. And guess what? Hope worked for me. I was hoping the Mets would do it. I believe that they can do it, and they won the game. And it was just incredible. And again, I'll never forget that moment of sitting there when it happened, being kind of like in awe. And then when Vin Scully started talking, running out and again screaming my head off because the Mets won the game, right? The Mets won the game. And then what happened, go forward, the Mets were going to play the next day. So they won Game 6. Game 7 is going to happen. And it was rained out. And so on October 27th, this was the last out. I'm just going to play this one real quick. This is the last out of the 1986 World Series. All right, that's, man, I'm getting goosebumps watching it. Couple days after Game 6, Game 7 happens. Jesse Orosco pitches the final out, and this was another game where the Mets were down early. I think they were down 3-0 and had to come back, and there were some amazing plays, and Ray Knight hit a home run, Darryl Strawberry hit a home run, and then Jesse Orosco gets the final out, and he tosses his glove up, and I can remember even back then people were like, he tossed it up, no one ever saw it came down, and it was just a great moment. And again, even when the Mets were down in that game, there was always that hope that they were going to, pull through. And I know it's a stretch to say, well, if the Mets can do it, then there's always hope for everybody. But that's kind of not the point. I'm trying to be a little lighthearted here. And the World Series just ended yesterday. The Dodgers won the 2020 World Series when they beat the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. But hope was a good thing. I had hope that my team was going to win. Hope springs eternal. Every spring training, when spring training comes along for baseball or any training camp for football or preseason camp for basketball, whatever it is, whatever team you root for, there's always hope. Right? Hopefully you have hope. Hopefully you're not rooting for one of those teams that the second the season starts, there's no chance. Hope springs eternal. Hope is something that's good to have, and it's good to have it in a sports team. It's fun. Sports are something, again, that I think they've done kind of a disservice, or I shouldn't say disservice, just made mistakes in the way they've approached some things with everything that's going on. They really could have been a unifying thing for this country and brought us together, but instead they've divided. But I still think sports has an incredible power, and it brings people together, and it's memories like this that just make me happy and make me smile, give me goosebumps, because I remember the hope that I had that this was going to happen. And I can even remember times where I had hope and things didn't go the way I wanted them to in sports, and it still was a good thing because hope was a good thing. I'm a Seahawks fan, and when they played the Steelers before they won their first Super Bowl, a few years after that, but when they played the Steelers, I had hope they were going to win, and they lost, and it was terrible. And then when they played the Broncos, I had hope, but it was a scary hope because they were playing a good Broncos team, and they totally destroyed that team. And so having hope is a good thing. Find something to hope in and be happy and hold on to it and be happy about it. And hope is a good thing, and it's going to be okay. And I guess maybe I now can steer this into politics, even though I wanted to stay away from it. I have hope that things are going to be okay. That's it. And it's not dependent on who's elected. It's not dependent on which party's in power. And I'm going to touch on this on some other things as we get, other podcasts. But the Democrats have controlled the House and the Senate and the presidency within the past 10 years, 20 years, however you want to look at it. They've had control of every single branch of government, the Senate, the House, and the presidency. And there were still problems in this country. There were still stupid things going on. There were still people doing stupid things. It wasn't perfect. And guess what? The Republicans, a few years later, they controlled the House and the Senate and the presidency. And guess what? Things weren't perfect. They didn't do there were still things that went on that were not right. I know that if you're a Trump fan, you think he's the greatest and Obama's the worst. I'll just use the last two presidents. Again, Republican, Democrat, doesn't make a difference. You think Trump is the worst and Obama's the best. And if it's vice versa, you think Obama's the best and Trump is the worst. Guess what? They both Obama and Trump, they did some good things and they did some stupid things. And I'm sorry, I know right now if you're an Obama fan, you're saying, yeah, but Trump did way more stupid things. No, he didn't. And I know if you're a Trump fan, you're thinking, but yeah, Obama did way more. No, they both did good things. They both did bad things. And guess what? No matter who's elected, if Trump is reelected, you know what? He'll do some good things, and he's done some good things, and he's going to do some stupid things. And if Biden's elected, guess what? He's not the savior. He's in fact, there's things about him that are coming out that even if you're a Democrat, you should at least say, yeah, you know what? Some of the stuff that we're hearing is pretty bad. One of the top searches in Google is, can I change my vote? Because they're seeing some of the stuff that's coming out about Hunter Biden and stuff. And again, whoever's elected, sorry, I went down a rabbit hole there, or, chase something. Whoever's elected, things are going to be things are going to be the way they are. There's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad. And what I'm hoping for is that I have hope in something other than a politician. We all should have some hope in something other than a politician, because in the end, hope is what counts, and what we have hope in is good. Have your hope in something, and here's what you should hope in: your friends, your family, your God, your love and respect and those kind of things, and that's what you should put your hope in. Don't put it in a political party, because the day after the election, yes, the sun is going to come up, but guess what else happens after the election? You're going to be you. Nothing's, just because there's a different person in the White House or the same person in the White House, you're still the same person. You have the ability to make your day better or not by putting your hope in the right thing. And again, as a Christian, Theological Pipe, I put my hope in God. I'm going to put my hope and trust in Him, and know that when I put my hope and trust in Him, good things are happening. Just like I didn't lose hope in the 1986 Mets that they were gonna lose, even when it looked like things were bad. Again, if you watch the game 6, or if you remember that game, it didn't look too good for the Mets. To go to extra innings and be down a few runs and then to come back and win the game like they did. And I know that's a stupid thing to say. I had hope in a baseball game and now I have hope in Jesus, but I think you get the point. Put your hope, have hope. Things are going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going through some tough times, but when we go through tough times, that's when we learn, that's when we grow, that's when we change, and hopefully we're changing for the better. Don't let the media, don't let politicians make you something you're not. Right? Have hope in each other. Have hope in good things. Don't be that person. And again, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to fellow Christians who are listening, and even maybe non-Christians who are listening, just people who maybe believe in a higher power, or people who are just stumbled across this. If you're waiting for the election, so the second it's announced that Biden is the president, you can go on Twitter or you can go on Facebook and start pointing your fingers and, your metaphorical fingers and really bashing Trump supporters. Or if you're waiting for Trump to be reelected so you can go and laugh in people's faces, man, you really need to rethink who you are, because that's not who most of us are, right? We need to love each other. And so let's have hope in good things. Let's have hope in the New York Mets. Let's have hope in God. Let's have hope in each other. Let's have hope in this country, and we'll go out and make a difference together, and let's really start thinking about what's going to happen the day after the election. Again, the sun's going to come up, but man, hope is a good thing, right? Hope is a good thing. We need to have hope and have it in good things. And again, as a Christian, I have hope in God. And if I have hope in God, and if I trust in Him the way I say I do, and if I really believe in Him the way I do, I really got nothing to worry about. And neither do you. If you're a Christian, if you're a believer in a higher power, and you have hope, there's really nothing to worry about. And I hate to say that. It doesn't mean that things are going to be perfect. It doesn't mean you're not going to go through tough times, because biblically that's just not accurate. You're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to have trials and tribulations. But the Bible promises, if you're a Christian, the Bible promises that through those trials, through those tribulations, God's going to be with you, and you're going to grow, and you're going to mature, and you're going to be sharpened. And when you get through it, you're going to be a better person for it. And so, man, have hope in good things. Have hope in God, and let's get through this. And again, we'll talk more politics another time. And I hope you indulge me a little bit with my New York Mets stuff, because again, been a fan since I was a kid, since I can remember. So I think hope is a good thing. So put that in your theological pipe and smoke it. Hope is a good thing. And be nice, and we will see you next time.
Well, bye.